It is a truth universally acknowledged that a single woman in a Jane Austen novel must be in want of a husband. Not all Jane Austen couples are created equal, though. Some of them are Elizabeth Bennet and Mr. Darcy, and others are Lydia and Wickham. So in this video, what I want to talk about is my 5 favorite Jane Austen couples. This is just in order of personal preference, so which ones you would pick and which order you would rank them in might be different, but I think we can all agree on a few that wouldn't be on there. Charlotte and Mr. Collins, Maria Bertram and Mr. Rushworth, any relationship involving Wickham or Willoughby. So with that out of the way, number 5 on my list is Jane Bennet and Mr. Bingley. They're not the most interesting couple, Jane and Bingley, but they certainly are very nice, and they certainly love each other very much. Unfortunately, there is some miscommunication that takes them apart, and I think he's a bit of an idiot for just abandoning the girl that he's falling in love with because his friend thinks that he should. But overall, I think that they're pretty sweet together in a kind of boring way. Number 4 is Catherine Morland and Henry Tilney from Northanger Abbey. Catherine and Henry are kind of a mismatched pair. They're very different from each other in terms of personality. He's, I think, much more serious, although he seems to enjoy poking fun at her. And she is kind of an airhead with a very active imagination. I kind of like the dynamic between them, how different they are, and how they kind of, in a way, balance each other out. I also kind of feel like it might create problems later on. Her being very flighty and fanciful and him being very down to earth, I kind of feel like that may not be the perfect pairing. In fact, I've seen some people suggest that they might even end up in a similar kind of relationship to Mr. and Mrs. Bennet. I hope not. I think their interactions are very cute, and I think that they clearly like each other a whole lot. They're definitely a pretty interesting couple to read about, and I wish them luck. Number 3 on my list is Emma Woodhouse and Mr. Knightley. Number 3 on my list is Emma Woodhouse and Mr. Knightley. Like Catherine and Henry, they have kind of an opposites attract aspect to their relationship. Although I think in this case, it's a little bit more clear how they bring out the best in each other, and particularly how he brings out the best in her. I think that by the end of the novel, they have found common ground enough that I don't worry so much about whether what they have would be sustainable. And I really like the idea that your ideal romantic partner is not someone who is just like you, but someone who will challenge you to grow into the best version of yourself. Number 2 on my list is Elizabeth Bennet and Mr. Darcy. Oh! Wait, it's not number 1? Yeah, you'll find out what number 1 is in just a minute, although given which ones I've named, you probably can guess which one's left. Anyway, I like Elizabeth and Mr. Darcy a lot, and having them at number 2 on this list doesn't mean that I don't like them as a couple. Please understand that. Like with Emma and Mr. Knightley, I think that one of the things that Jane Austen does with her best couples is she has them bring out the best in each other and change for the better because of their relationship with each other, without having it be that their personalities get a complete overhaul. I also like that as she learns more about him, she finds out that he's actually a lot better than she thought he was. And likewise, he overcomes his initial disdain towards her. I think that it's hard to make a relationship evolve in that way, but Jane Austen does a great job of it, and there's a reason that Mr. Darcy is still so appealing to this day. But my number 1 Jane Austen couple is actually Anne Elliot and Captain Frederick Wentworth from Persuasion. I think what I like so much about this one is, first of all, it's a little bit bittersweet. And I tend to like things that are just a little bit bittersweet. All of the others, things work out really well for them. Within a short time of their first meeting, they're getting married and living happily ever after. For Anne and Captain Wentworth, I mean, they do eventually get married and live happily ever after, but it's a much more long and winding road to get there. I find his letter to her to be just absolutely beautiful, and just the whole quality of their relationship. And I think also the idea of getting a second chance at a point where you feel like all hope is lost. I also really like Anne personality-wise. I feel like I have more in common with her than I do with Elizabeth Bennet or Emma Woodhouse, for example. So I guess it's easier to kind of imagine myself in her shoes and connect with her on an emotional level. I do like those other characters as characters. I think sometimes, though, that seeing something of your own personality in a character can make a big impact on just how much you connect with them. So those are my top 5 Jane Austen couples. Which ones are your favorites? Feel free to leave a comment down below. And if you liked this video, subscribe and stay tuned for more. I post videos twice a week on Mondays and Thursdays.